I skipped my brother's wedding because I wasn't invited to the engagement party, and now my entire family is pissed at me because I embarrassed them and ruined everything, even though they don't even love me. Posted by you/JuggernautSlow4213. I, 28M, have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently, I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd, and he was an extrovert who played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona, and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends are here, my professional networks from internships were here, etc. But I always flew back home for holidays, events, birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and texted him congrats. He mentioned they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks, and I told him to let me know so I could book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they'd change the subject or say it was still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my brother to ask about the date because it must be getting close, and I didn't want to pay for a last-minute flight. No response. I asked my mom for details, and she said, "It's not really an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it." I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests, family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told I couldn't make it. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed I couldn't make time to join, and I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly about my snub, and my parents and brother tried to say it was just a misunderstanding. That was almost over a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, "It was just meant to be a small gathering," to "I don't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication," to "It's just a party. It's no big deal." I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought maybe his fiancée didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't want me there, why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter were awkward as hell because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything felt like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away. It's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." 9 months ago, I got the save the date announcement, and 6 months ago, I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine and wasn't surprising at that point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get A+1 for my girlfriend I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got A+1 for her FWB. So I decided I wasn't welcome and was probably only invited for optics and to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no since I knew that would cause a crap show. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either or expected to be there. I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I was, etc., and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mom's call, and she screamed, "Where the hell are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding, how could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party. It's no big deal, right?" It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I the jerk here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. It may seem petty to some, but they didn't have enough decency to be straight with you about the engagement party and made you feel unwelcome in your own family. I'd say not to close the door entirely, as they may come back around and apologize to you someday, but for the time being, you are within your rights to cut contact. Ops response. Honestly, I was going to suggest family therapy, but I'm not sure that'll even work or if I want anything out of that. Thinking about the last few years, it feels like any contact was always initiated by me. Op on flying to Phoenix for family events. The flights aren't very long, 2.5 hours, and between holidays and birthdays and other celebrations, I'm back in Phoenix almost every month. It's not like I've moved to another country, and they haven't seen me in years. Did Op and his twin talk on a regular basis? I always thought we stayed close. He'd visited me about every year for a week since I graduated. We may not have chatted or texted every day, but we kept each other abreast of what's going on in our lives. We may not text for 2 to 3 weeks, but when we did, there'd be an hour of texting back and forth and inside jokes. I'd travel back home about 10 times a year, so I met his now wife and I thought we got along, too. Op on if politics play a role in his family. No change in politics as far as I can tell. No MAGAization or anything like that. My dad is a lifelong Republican, my mom a Democrat, and my siblings and I are all still pretty liberal. No real change there and no shifts noticed from any posts on social media. Has Op's family visited him in Portland? My brother has visited about 5 times, my sister lived with me one summer for an internship here. My cousin, who is totally on my side, lived with me and 2 of my friends, in a 4-bedroom, of course, for 2 years after she transferred to the college I went to and finished her degree here. My parents visited twice during college and my little brother has no interest. Is Op and his twin identical? Fraternal. Update 6 days later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my last post. I can't believe how many replies it got, and I tried keeping up but couldn't. For those who didn't read my last post, the thick of it is that I was specifically not invited to my twins' engagement party, specifically not included in the wedding party, and I chose not to attend after being iced out for the past year. To the people who said you're the jerk, I understand your reasons. Yes, it was cowardly not to RSVP to avoid drama, but looking back, I was in a headspace where I just caved to the guilt if I RSVP'd that I wasn't planning to attend. Also, a little part of me was hoping they'd realize I didn't RSVP and tell me they wanted me to come. But every day that passed between the RSVP date and the wedding, I got angrier and more hurt, and I wanted to make it clear in a big way that if they don't want me around, I don't have to be around. And I get that's a jerk move. I had a long phone call with my aunt and cousin last night about the wedding drama. They gave me some more info, and our suspicions are a bit of conjecture based on what we know and what we've heard, but here it goes. We really do think my mother felt I rejected them when I didn't move back after graduating. This is despite always coming home for my brother and sister's graduations, all birthdays, mine and immediate families, holidays, special events, etc. I practically visited monthly. But despite this, we think she has some weird vendetta against me for splitting up her family and being an example to my siblings that they don't have to stay local. Even worse, somehow visiting so often made my mother resentful because my aunt mentioned that my mother once told her a few years ago that I was flaunting my wealth by showing I could visit so often. Thanks to my senior year internship, I went immediately into a field where progression can be quick, and thanks to going back for a very specialized master's degree, I am in a very niche space within that field and was able to move up faster. I'm not bragging, it was just luck, connections, and a great mentor early on. People suggested my brother might be jealous. He does earn less, but as far as I know, he loves his job. It just doesn't have the same career progression. Honestly, his job is much more exciting than mine and I'm sure it fulfills him a lot more. My job isn't terrible, it's just not one anyone wants to hear work stories about at a dinner party, lol. I was also flaunting my money by gifting family money when they needed it. My grandfather often said, never loan family money. Give it freely if you want to, but you'll destroy relationships when you start asking for repayment. Not a week of Judge Judy reruns goes by without proving that true. So when I could, I gifted my family money when they needed it. Money for car repairs, money to help with my parents' mortgage when my dad was out of work during COVID, money when my brother ran out halfway through his kitchen renovations. And until last night, my parents' internet and Disney Plus bills, but I've now canceled the monthly auto payments. Again, this was me flaunting my success. But they never stopped asking, either. My aunt and cousin also said they've heard lots of passive-aggressive comments about me over the years, first from my mother during the first few years after I decided to stay in Portland and then eventually from my siblings. We're pretty sure my mother slowly poisoned them against me for not moving back home and showing what happens if they ever tried to move away. Someone said this about my mother meeting my girlfriend in my previous post. To be honest, given the context of everything else that's happened, what your mother said here about finally finding someone who can put up with you sounds less like a tongue-in-cheek joke and more like a not-so-subtle barb. I see it now. I laughed it off as just my mom's humor, but I now also see that these passive-aggressive comments to me and my siblings over the years were subtle manipulation to turn them against me and to get me to accept it. A lot of people suggested this treatment was to get me to move back home and punish me for leaving, but I'm not going to come home to embrace treatment like this and hope it goes away now that they got their way, especially when it's been too ingrained in them by now. It also explains why, for the past few years, almost every conversation was initiated by me. They simply don't like me anymore and don't need me until they need or want something. My cousin also learned from another cousin that my brother shot himself in the foot when he mentioned the engagement party. I wasn't supposed to know at all. The plan was to tell everyone I couldn't make it and hope I'd never find out. My brother told that cousin I wasn't supposed to find out, but after he let it slip, I wouldn't shut up about asking to come. Based on how they've been talking about me for a couple of years, lots of extended family think I'm some annoying loser who makes my too often visits miserable for my family and can't get the hint to F off. So I'm finally effing off. My aunt and mother never really got along, my aunt is my mother's brother's wife, but my aunt said she knew all of this had my mom's name all over it and that years of digs, passive-aggressive comments, and full-on aggressive comments have all come to this. She said they're not the same people. I told them that I don't think there's any coming back from this. My aunt and cousin both mentioned they've never heard my dad say anything bad, so my aunt is going to have my uncle talk to my dad man to man to see if he can find out what the hell is going on. I thanked my aunt and cousin and reminded them they are pretty much the only family I have left and I don't plan on losing touch with them. My aunt even mentioned they haven't gone camping in years and asked if there are any nice places around Portland. It's too far to drive to go camping, but it means they may visit sometime. They also said they're going to try to correct info about me with extended family members, but I told them not to bother, they've already chosen to believe it. But for now, my immediate family is cut off. I've blocked them on my phone and social media. No more free handouts when they need money. No more wasting money to go to Phoenix effing Arizona 10 plus times a year just to be roasted by the sun and family members. No more punching bag. Thank you all for your support and for helping me realize my family really is awful. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I don't understand your mom's endgame here. Sure, she wanted to punish you for moving away, but if she wanted you to return, how did she think treating you badly and turning your family against you would accomplish that? My son doesn't want to move home? I'll show him. I'm gonna make him so miserable that he has no choice but to return. That'll teach him. Like, what? If you miss your child, wouldn't you do everything in your power to make them feel at home every time you see them? Commenter 2. It sounds crazy, but I promise you, every member of our/raised by narcissists is nodding and saying, yep, I can totally imagine my end parent doing this. That's not her son, you see. That's a mini her who exists to make her look and feel good about herself. When the offspring stop doing that, by moving away or daring to be more successful than the narcissist feels threatened and goes on the attack, quite mercilessly.